Welcome back, everyone. I'm really excited to dive into a topic I know a lot of you are following closely too, the latest in Parkinson's treatment.
Absolutely. There's been a lot of exciting news recently.
Yeah, and specifically, we're going to be looking at some news from AskBio,
They're a gene therapy company.
right now part of Beer, and they just got something called RMAT designation from the FDA for their Parkinson's gene therapy. It's called AB1005.
It's actually pretty huge news. RMAT stands for Regenerative Medicine Advanced Therapy. Basically, it means the FDA thinks this therapy has real potential.
So like a fast track to approval.
Exactly. Which could mean getting this treatment to patients much faster if it proves to be effective.
Wow, that's got to be encouraging news for people living with Parkinson's. But okay, let's back up for a second. What exactly is AB1005?
So it's a gene therapy.
And I know we've talked about gene therapy before, but just as a quick reminder.
Yeah, so basically it uses a virus, but don't worry, it's a harmless one, to deliver a specific gene into cells. Think of it like a delivery truck, taking a package right to its destination.
Okay, I like that analogy. So what's in the package in this case?
AB1005 delivers the GDNF gene. And this is key because GDNF produces a protein that's vital for keeping those dopamine-producing neurons alive.
Right, and those are the neurons that are dying off in Parkinson's, causing all those movement problems.
Exactly. So the idea is to essentially replenish this crucial protein, give those remaining neurons a fighting chance.
It makes you wonder why they didn't try this sooner.
Well, actually, GDNF has been on researchers' radar for a while now, but earlier attempts to use it, like injecting the protein directly into the brain, ran into some roadblocks. Gene therapy offers a way to deliver it more effectively, like, a more reliable delivery truck, so to speak.
Okay, that makes sense. So with this more reliable delivery, what did they find in their phase 1B trial?
The initial results are promising, but it's important to remember that it was a pretty small trial and it wasn't controlled.
What does that mean exactly, uncontrolled?
It means there wasn't a comparison group getting a placebo. So it makes it harder to say for sure what's causing any changes they see.
Gotcha. So what did they see in this trial then?
First, the safety data was encouraging no serious adverse events related to the therapy.
I guess that's always the first hurdle, right? Making sure it's safe.
Absolutely. But beyond just being safe, they saw some positive trends too. Some patients actually had improvements at their motor function, while others remained stable, which is also good news because it means things weren't getting worse. And some people even needed less of their regular Parkinson's medication.
So those trends are pretty encouraging. I'm guessing that's why they're moving on to a larger trial.
Exactly. It's called Regenerate PD, a phase 2 trial, and this one will be controlled, meaning it'll have a placebo group for comparison. So it'll give us a much clearer picture of whether AB1005 is truly effective.
I was reading that Regenerate PD is already recruiting participants.
Yep, and it's using a really interesting new surgical approach to deliver the gene therapy. They're targeting very specific areas of the brain, which is much more precise than some earlier methods.
It sounds like they're constantly learning and refining their techniques.
Definitely. That's the nature of research, especially in a field as complex as gene therapy.
And I think the CEO of AskBio, Gustavo Peskin, summed it up well when he said, and I'm quoting here, "The FDA's decision to grant RMAT designation to AB1005 is exciting news for people living with Parkinson's disease and their loved ones."
You could really sense the hope and the potential impact this therapy could have.
For sure. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, it's probably good to step back and talk about the realities of Parkinson's for a moment.
Okay, yeah,
I mean, we often hear about the tremors, but there's so much more to it, right?
absolutely. It's a really complex disease that affects so many aspects of a person's life. You've got the rigidity, the slowness of movement.
And a whole bunch of symptoms that aren't even related to movement, right?
Exactly. Things like fatigue, sleep problems, even cognitive issues. And what's really challenging is that current treatments mostly just address the symptoms, not the underlying cause.
So it's like trying to bail out a sinking boat without patching the hole.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. And that's what makes this gene therapy approach so potentially groundbreaking. It's not just about managing symptoms, it's about targeting the root of the problem, trying to slow or even halt the progression of the disease itself.
Wow. Okay, so that's a lot of science to digest. Now, let me just recap for everyone listening. We're talking about a gene therapy with some really promising early results. It has the potential to actually change the course of Parkinson's disease. And most importantly, it offers real hope for people living with Parkinson's and their families.
It's definitely a development worth watching closely. We'll be keeping a close eye on the progress of the Regenerate PD trial as it moves forward.
Well, too. And of course, we'll keep you all updated right here on the Deep Dive.
It really could be a game changer. And you know what's even more amazing?
What's that?
This whole gene therapy thing, it's not just for Parkinson's.
Right, yeah, it's like this whole new frontier in medicine with the potential to treat all kinds of conditions.
Exactly. We're talking cystic fibrosis, some cancers, even inherited genetic disorders. The possibilities are, like, endless.
It's mind-blowing, right? We're talking about like rewriting the genetic code, fixing those errors in our DNA that cause these diseases.
Pretty remarkable, yeah. And it really shows how dedicated these researchers are. I mean, this stuff doesn't just happen overnight. This is years, sometimes decades of research, countless hours in the lab, scientists and doctors all over the world working together.
It really is amazing to see that kind of collaboration.
Oh, for sure. And speaking of collaboration, AskBio, they're not in this alone either.
Right, they're with Bayer now.
Yeah, which is huge. I mean, Bayer's a major player in the pharmaceutical world, so that partnership gives them a ton of resources and expertise.
Yeah, like a whole support system to help them move forward. But, with any new technology, especially one this powerful, you got to think about the challenges too, and the ethical considerations, right?
Oh, absolutely. One of the biggest challenges is making sure these therapies are safe in the long run. We need to be certain those modified genes are behaving the way we want them to and not causing some, unforeseen problems down the road.
So long-term monitoring is super important. Make sure these therapies are safe and sustainable.
Exactly. And then you've got those ethical considerations like, what about germline editing?
Germline editing. I'm not sure I'm familiar with that.
So basically, it's when you modify genes in a way that those changes get passed down to future generations. It gets really complex because, are we messing with the very fabric of humanity?
Wow. Yeah, that opens up a whole other can of worms, ethically speaking.
It does, and this is a discussion that needs to involve everyone, not just scientists and policymakers, but society as a whole.
It really highlights why we need to be informed, about both the science and the ethics of all this.
Absolutely. The more we understand about gene therapy, the better equipped we'll be to make responsible decisions about how it's developed and used.
It's clear that gene therapy has this incredible potential, but it's a field that demands careful thought and responsible development.
It's a balancing act, for sure. But the potential rewards are so huge. It's a journey we're taking, but we need to be cautious and work together.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into gene therapy and its potential to treat Parkinson's, what are some of the key takeaways you hope our listeners will remember?
I think the biggest message is one of hope, but a cautious optimism. There's still a lot of work to be done, but the advancements in gene therapy are truly groundbreaking.
Yeah, just the fact that we're seeing promising results in clinical trials like this one with AB-1005 is incredible.
Right. It signifies this real shift in how we understand disease, and our ability to develop therapies that target the root cause, not just the symptoms.
It's like we're finally starting to unlock the secrets of our own DNA and use it to heal.
Exactly. It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
It really is. It's a privilege to be living in a time when these kinds of breakthroughs are happening. But it's also crucial that we stay informed and engaged as this field keeps evolving.
I couldn't agree more. The future of medicine is literally being written right now. We all have a part to play in shaping it.
Okay, so before we completely wrap up this deep dive into gene therapy, I want to shift gears just a bit. We've talked a lot about individual treatments, but it seems like this has much broader implications, right? We've talked a lot about individual treatments, but it seems like this has much broader implications, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, we're not just talking about treating specific diseases here, but like a whole shift in how we think about healthcare.
Exactly. It's not just about treating diseases, but potentially preventing them altogether.
Okay, now you've got my attention. What might this future look like?
Well, imagine a world where we can correct genetic predispositions before they even have a chance to develop into a disease.
So, like, instead of reacting to a disease after it appears, we're talking about stopping it before it even starts.
Right? And it goes even beyond prevention. Gene therapy could potentially cure diseases that are currently considered incurable.
Or are we talking about a future where diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, even cancer could become a thing of the past?
That's the hope. There's still a long way to go, but the possibilities are definitely exciting.
I can see why you're so passionate about this field. It feels like we're on the cusp of a whole new era in medicine, one where we have this much deeper understanding of our biology and the tools to actually manipulate it for the better.
It's a pretty powerful thought, isn't it? The idea that we might be able to rewrite our destinies, at least when it comes to our health.
It's a lot to process, but it's a future worth striving for. Okay, but let's shift gears for a second and talk about the practical side of things. What about things like accessibility and affordability? Those are big concerns, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, gene therapies are really expensive to develop and administer. We're talking hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions of dollars per treatment.
Yeah, that's definitely a barrier for most people. How can we make sure that these potentially life-changing therapies are available to everyone who needs them, not just a select few?
It's a really important question, and it's something that a lot of people are working on. We need to find ways to make the manufacturing process more efficient, bring the cost down, And we need to improve access through things like insurance coverage and government programs.
It's a complex issue with no easy solutions, but it's a conversation we definitely need to be having. I mean, a cure is only as good as its availability, right?
Exactly. The promise of gene therapy can only be fully realized if it's accessible to everyone. It's going to require collaboration and innovation from all sides.
It sounds like gene therapy isn't just a scientific breakthrough, but a societal one. It's going to challenge our perceptions of health disease and what it means to be human.
It's a journey for sure, and it's going to have its challenges. But it's a journey worth taking. The potential benefits are just too great to ignore.
Well said. I think that's the perfect note to wrap up our deep dive today. We've explored the specifics of AB 1005 and its potential impact on Parkinson's disease, but we've also talked about the broader implications of gene therapy for the future of healthcare.
It's been a fantastic conversation, and I hope our listeners have come away with a better understanding of this groundbreaking field and the possibilities it holds for all of us.
I know I have. You can find more information about AskBio, the clinical trials we discussed, and additional resources on Parkinson's disease in the show notes.
And as always, we encourage you to keep learning and exploring this ever-evolving field.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the world around you.